You're technically the first sports agent on the show. Have you been screwed over yourself in the industry?
Have I been screwed over? Definitely not going to mention names. One of my first deals was over a 250 grand contract and with a 25k commission, which was supposed to be split 50-50, and I didn't see a cent.
Forbes Australia did a feature article on you.
My biggest dream would be to dominate the Australian market for all sports.
Let's go, Rush! All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Rush. Today's guest is Michael Wearne, aka Fuzz. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you, man, because you're technically the first sports agent on the show. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, man.
Okay, that's a privilege. I take that. I won't take that lightly. Thank you.
I'm going to pick your brain today. So, look, firstly, to start off with, what is a sports agent? Because it's got a great title, but I don't know exactly what you do. So
yeah,
fill us in.
That is a good question. I think just every sport has essentially like the middleman between the athlete and whether it be the general manager or the coach or the whole organization as a whole. And for me, that's where I sit in the middle, and I take exactly what the team may need and exactly what the player needs personally to develop, and I find that middle ground and just kind of make sure that it's the right situation for everybody and that it can work out for the year or a couple of years to go. And
how long have you been in this field for?
I've been doing it for about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. And we're still growing. Like, it's still very, very early days. There's agents out there that have been in the game for 40, 50 years. And, you know, it's something that, you know, you're on your phone all the time. It's not as physically taxing. So, yeah, there's a long way to go. We're still very early days, yeah.
And what I'm curious to know is, how do you become a sports agent? Like, do you do a degree or course? How does it work? Yeah,
well, there's a couple of different aspects to it. Like, myself and my business partner, we work together quite closely. He's registered through FIBA, so you have to take a test, get that done, and then there's also the MBA test that you'll take as well. And you know, there's no necessarily degree that you have to take or have to get, and you just kind of use your networks as leverage to maintain those and build those relationships with other people around the world.
So was it a risk to become a sports agent in the beginning? Is it something that isn't quite easy to do and you got to kind of put yourself out there, put some money on the line? How does it work?
Yeah, definitely a risk, because you're changing. For me, it was changing the trajectory of where my life was going to go. I played pretty high level basketball, and I had the opportunity to either continue to chase that dream of making, you know, the NBA, NBL, whatever it may be, but decided to veer off a different direction and go this way. So it was a risk, because my whole life from age 4 up until 24 was just play the game. So it was a big shift in my life, and it was something that I'll never regret.
And I'm assuming because you played basketball at a high level, then that gives you a good reputation amongst the players that you work with, right? And there's that trust element. How important is trust in your industry? Yeah,
well, I mean, touching on the first point, like, I will forever still be able to give my clients buckets, like forever. I will make sure I'm always still in shape. Like, yesterday I worked out with one of my up and coming clients, and I beat him in ones. He just made the Australian team, but I beat him, and I'm just like, okay, just got to make it known that my clients know I can still hoop. All right, I'm not done. But yeah, the trust thing is so big. Like, if I can't build that relationship with them off the court, then it's never going to work long term, because what I want to have with all my clients is not just a 1 year thing. This is like, if you're 18, 19, 20, like, this is a potential 15-year relationship, and then ongoing once you finish with basketball or sport, whatever sport it may be. So it's the trust has to be the main foundation, and that's what I have been building with all of my clients. Yeah.
Would you like to meet Shaq or get a Cam Johnson signed jersey? How about an NBA 2K video game? These are some of the previous prizes I've given away, and you can get exclusive access to these competitions by becoming a member of my basketball community. Have you ever thought about asking your favorite basketball player a question? Now you can. Become a producer of my YouTube show and help me create amazing interviews with basketball stars. Join my community now. There's a link in the video description below. And are you mainly working in the basketball industry right now, or do you have plans to expand in other areas in the future?
Definitely, like mainly working in basketball at the moment. I've started to venture a little into other sports as well, just because basketball and AFL, for example, they go hand in hand with each other.
Particularly here in Melbourne.
Yes, yeah. We've got like 9 or 10 AFL teams or something here, and there's a lot like with the Category B stuff, there's a lot of players that are just switching over to footy. So I'm slowly starting to dabble in that a bit more. And even with the female space, like WAFL is really becoming a big thing as well. So yeah, really trying to slowly crack into that. I'm in no rush, no pun intended, to get to that point though. But yeah.
So how many athletes are currently on your roster?
So I have about 20 currently playing in Australia and New Zealand. The agency in its own has a lot more, purely because we have a lot of different markets that we cover, and it works out for us that because we collaborate with a lot of people, that being a consulting service, that it actually works out really well, and we have a good balance of employees to client ratio. So it works out pretty well.
And the athletes that you're working with, are they only here in Melbourne, Australia-wide? Is it internationally?
No, they're everywhere. I mean, Australia, I've got 6 players in the NBL now, just all on separate teams across the country. New Zealand as well. I had 4 players over there this season in the NZNBL, which is a growing league. And we've got players all over Europe, China. Things are really just building internationally in general.
So I guess like one thing I'm really curious to know is, how do you go about building a roster? Do you approach the players, or do they approach you? How does it work?
A bit of both. It's probably more if I go to a player, like I've seen him play or her play, and I've scouted them. I've usually made 3 or 4 phone calls about that person first to figure out how they are as a person off the court. Because if they can hoop, but they're a head case, and I don't want to deal with that. And you have to figure that out first, because like I said before, if it's long term, you don't want to waste your time. It needs to be a good relationship with that person. It can't just be purely monetary value. And for me, like I want to live a happy, fun life. I don't want to just focus on the money that comes with anything. I didn't get into this industry for the money. I got into it because I love basketball and love helping people. So from then on, it's just like, who do I want to work with? Okay, there's new people that come into my life. I can't say yes to everyone. And that's been a big issue for me, is just having to say no to some people.
Oh, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It can hurt some relationships though.
Okay. In what ways?
More in the sense that, because I've been a hooper my whole life, and people come to me now saying, I need help, and I can't offer help to everyone. I need to offer help to the clientele that I already have. So yeah, it has hurt some relationships already, unfortunately, but that's the nature of the game. Yeah. That's what I got into.
So with the talent, are you mainly looking for up and coming talent, basketball players that are in college trying to make it to the pro level, or you're already looking for established NBL players and helping with their contracts and that kind of thing? What's your main focus?
Personally, my main focus is looking at getting the young kids coming up, because once players are in the NBL, they already have agents, and they've already signed with people for years, and they've built that trust and that relationship with them. And I know how bad it would feel if one of my top players went to another agency. I would feel like very hurt. So I don't necessarily go and poach. If someone was to come to me and say, like, this is my situation, different story. But I'll try and collaborate or have conversations with kids and their parents when they're coming out of high school, or sometimes even a bit earlier, just so that that relationship slowly builds, and then by the time they're graduated from college or graduated from high school and they're ready to go pro, we have that built relationship, and it can last, like I said, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so let's say I'm 16 years old. I'm one of the best basketball players in Australia right now. You know, you can tell, right? What makes you a better agent than, you know, the next dude that is in the Australian scene or American scene? Why should I go with Fuzz?
My personal opinion is purely because I would say I'm one of the most personable people, more relatable, especially within the age bracket. And like I said, I can go still hoop with these guys. I can still understand where they're coming from. I've been through the process I've played for Australia, I've played for Victoria, I've had my stint in the NBL, I've, you know, gone and played Division 1 basketball, gone and played Division 2 basketball, been cut from those teams, been promised the world and not given anything. I've gone through all the stuff that they either have gone through as well or they're about to go through. So for me, I'm like, I get it, all right? And if you want to get to the next level, this is what I didn't do to get to the next level, and I can point you in the right direction to make sure you do get to that level. I can't guarantee it, because at the end of the day, it's on you to be the perfect or to be the best athlete that you can possibly be. But I can point you in that direction, at least.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I'd hire you for sure.
Did I just tell you?
No, definitely. I think being relatable like that and being able to, you know, connect and speak the language, that's such a big part of it, right?
Yeah. And it's, once again, it comes back to trust as well. Like, you're going to trust someone that has been through it. You're going to trust someone that you feel is genuine about it. And that's been me. Like, I got into the industry, one of the main reasons was because I'd seen a lot of my friends get screwed over overseas and make, you know, some of their agents make mistakes or not really care about them that much, kind of push them to the side. And I was like, I wish back then I had a bit more of a say and could actually help them. And this is slowly the position that I'm getting to now, yeah.
Now, the basketball scene here in Australia is just exploding. There's so much talent coming through, which also means, you know, there's a lot more money, opportunities. There's more guys going to college and the NBA from Australia than ever before, which also means there's, you know, a lot more politics. Yeah. Have you been screwed over yourself in the industry?
Have I been screwed over? Oh man, I've made, in all honesty, I've made my mistakes. I will say that. I think being screwed over in a sense is like a part of the game, and that's not a game that I want to play, but other people definitely want to play that game, because with it being such an online thing as well, and phone calls, like, you rarely are going to see other people, especially if I'm living in Australia. I'm not going to see these European agents. I'm not going to see these American agents, if ever. So they'll just take their cut where they can and try and cut you out of the equation. It's a very collaborative business, which has been, you know, one of my first deals was, definitely not going to mention names, but one of my first deals was over a 250 grand contract. Damn. And with a 25k commission, which was supposed to be split 50-50, and I didn't see a cent. And I'm a broke kid, fresh out of COVID, nothing happening for me except for what I'm doing and like the COVID paychecks that we were getting. So I'm like banking on this, like I'm about to get 12.5k, saw none of it.
So this is you as an agent or a player?
As an agent.
Oh, okay.
As a player, being screwed over, yeah. I mean, I think every hooper believes that they've should be where they aren't, essentially. And I feel like I was promised the world going to a couple of different colleges that I went to, and that fell through. But looking back on it, it's more like, no, that was my fault, you know. And that's where I try and educate the athletes, is like, you have to be mature enough to understand that college coaches and NBL coaches and everything like that, they're pushing you so hard to the absolute limit because they know what's inside of you. They know that you're capable of becoming something that you really want to become. But if you're wasting your time and focusing on girls or focusing on partying and focusing on, you know, doing the wrong stuff, you're not going to achieve the dreams that you really want to achieve.
I have to say, as you're saying all this, the thing that comes to mind is the movie He Got Game.
Yeah.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Is it because in that movie it's all about getting to the pros and dealing with agents and people handing over money and watches and cars. Is it at that level here in Australia? Is that kind of stuff going on?
I think it definitely is. Like, I haven't personally experienced it. I don't have anywhere near the kind of money that some of these massive agents have. But I've heard stories of, some of my close friends that are in the NBA or have played in the NBA, they've told me, like, when they were in college, agents coming up to them saying, sign with me, I've got this rollie for you, I've got 10 racks for you, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's crazy stuff, but it's like, I don't ever want to be that. I don't ever want to be that. I want to build mine off of trust and the foundation that we have. And if you don't want to sign with me because you want to sign with someone else because they're giving you a Rolex, it's like, okay, I don't want to work with you anyway, because your mind's focused on the wrong stuff. I'm trying to place you in the best possible position for your career, not what flashy stuff can I give you now, because that's not wearing a rollie to your NBA workout is not going to help you get signed by the Warriors. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen. So what's important is how good that relationship is with the player and how much you can actually push them to be the best they can be.
That's interesting, man. I mean, because there's some of the contracts in the NBA now are just insane. Ridiculous. I mean, what's been one of the biggest contracts is like 400 million recently, something like that?
That's soccer, probably.
Soccer.
I'd say the biggest one I might have just seen, maybe like 250, 270 over 4 or 5 years. And
that's US dollars,
That's
right?
US. So yeah, I guess that is for us. But like, man, I can only imagine where it's going to be in 20 years time. 50, so, but these players just need to be consistently educated about, one, what to do with it when they get it, and two, is it the best opportunity for them, or are we just chasing the bag? Like, what is your main focus right now? And you've seen some NBA players take pay cuts of 20 mil. They're still getting 80 to 100 mil. But they've gone because it's a better opportunity for them. They can be a starter. They can potentially push for an all-star. Like, it's definitely way better for them to do things like that than it would be to just chase a bag at a horrible position.
Now, one thing that happened to you recently that I'm excited to talk to you about is Forbes Australia did a feature article on you. So firstly, congratulations, man, because that is huge.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And even say for me, it's really inspiring to see someone locally achieving that kind of success. So how did that whole thing come about with Forbes?
It's interesting because when it was like a 4 or 5 month process where they were messaging me, and I was like, this is a scam. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I straight up thought it was a scam for so long, and I'm getting calls from UAE, like they're in Dubai calling me, and I'm like, why is this random number calling me? So I just left it for so long, had voice messages, and I ended up giving them the time of day to have the conversation in the Zoom meeting, and I was like, oh, this it seems decently legit, but I still didn't believe it until it was published. And then it was published, and I was like, wow. And it kind of made me realize, like, everything I said I wanted to do 3 years ago when I started is slowly starting to become reality. And the power of manifesting God, my belief in myself, people's belief in, like, my family's belief in me and the people around me, like, it's been a very humbling experience to actually see it happen. And I'm still where I see it. Some people may see it as success, but I'm like, I'm not even close.
Just warming up.
I don't think I'm even scratching the surface of what I want to do and what I will do.
So when it comes to business, have you got a mentor? Who is someone that you look up to for advice in this area?
In this space specifically, I've gone to other agents, Australia based. There's some big agents in Australia that have given me advice very early days, and I'll always refer to him as someone that's been great. And one of them is Jeff Allen. He's my business partner, and we've worked together very closely for a very long time. And there's someone that's big in this space, Jai Watson, who's really given me a lot of just feedback and help to guide me through it. Gave me some phone numbers early in the process as well of Australian people, Australian coaches and stuff, when he was thinking about bringing me on board with his agency, but him and his business partner said, look, you're gonna do amazing things, like you should just go keep doing what you're doing on your own with your business. And at the time I was like, bro, why don't you want me? Essentially, I was like, why would you not want me? But now looking at it and understanding, okay, like they actually had best interest at heart for me, and they wanted me to succeed at as highest level I could, because I would have had a smaller opportunity and a smaller role with them. But moving forward from that, like I seek so much advice from my dad, from my mom, people like close friends around me, and it's just constant. I'm like a sponge. I just want to take in as much information as I possibly can from everybody. I've never felt like I'm the smartest person in the room. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I just want to keep learning and keep growing. I'm always asking questions, and that's how it's gone for me.
Well, on that note, who has given you the best piece of advice in terms of business, running your company? What has helped you the most?
I would say probably my dad's given me the best piece of advice, which was to always just stay true to myself. No matter how big everything gets, just always stay true to what the foundings or the groundings that he and my mother raised me on. And I've always felt that that's my whole philosophy with everything. Like I've seen what it's like to grow up in a situation not having much money or opportunity or things like that, and then also in the basketball side be cut from 1,000,001 different things and shoved to the side, and just kind of remember that those are the times that are most important, because they've helped you grow the most, and not to let what might be more success in the future get to your head. I've seen it happen with a lot of NBA players and famous people that I've been around, and all the feedback that you get from other people is, man, he changed or she changed. And I never want to hear that about me. I never ever want to hear that about me. It would actually hurt me, because I fully believe that I'm still the same person I was 4 years ago when I was struggling and during COVID, had no money, no absolutely anything. I feel like I'm still the same person. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say if someone's watching this, and hopefully they're subscribed to the YouTube channel, and they want and they want to become an agent, a sports agent, what advice would you give them?
Main piece of advice would be to figure out who your circle is. I always like to believe that you're only a product of your surroundings. If you have 4 or 5 good people around you, you will be the 6th good person, essentially. Or if you surround yourself with 4 or 5 millionaires, you'll be, the 5th, 6th millionaire. People with similar goals, similar mindset. You can't really surround yourself with someone that's not doing the same stuff. If they have a vision of wanting to go party and go do all that stuff non-stop, like, yeah, it's okay to do that stuff. I still do occasionally, but you don't want to get caught up in only doing that, because that's not going to be beneficial for you. You need to figure out exactly what that circle looks like and stick with that once you figure that out, because that is where the success comes from.
Now, you're not only looking after athletes, you're also looking after artists. Mm-hmm. We had Travis Breyer on the show recently, and he's someone that you're working with. Why the crossover to working with an artist?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I represent artists. I would say I represent Travis. Like, Travis is the only person that I've felt so far. Maybe in the future it changes, but so far he's been the only person where I'm like, this is perfect, this works, because not only am I still able to collaborate with other agents and other clients like I do, it's helped him to grow, because all I'm now adding in that conversation is, oh, by the way, I have Travis Breyer, who is doing this, that, and the other with his artwork. You should check it out. And then that relationship builds even further. The conversation with Travis's artwork, with him, like me getting his artwork signed by Steph Curry and Ja Morant, like we did that because I know Steph Curry and Ja Morant's people.
That's crazy.
So it's like that only really becomes a thing because of the networks that I have built throughout my basketball career and also just business on the sports agency side. So I saw it from the beginning, like this is the only way it can work is because he draws NBA players. And I'm like, that's the bridge that I can fill here. And it's working out pretty well so far. We're making a lot of moves, and it's going to take time before everyone else kind of starts to realize how good his artwork is and how big this can really be, because he's going to change the space of sports memorabilia as a whole. And if they don't see it yet, the people will realize in a couple of years' time, like, wow, everything we said is coming to fruition.
So you're early in your career as a sports agent. You've had a lot of success already, but how big are you wanting to take all this?
Yeah, I mean, I have every plan to get players into the NBA, EuroLeague, keep building throughout that. But there's also the other side of things where I feel like I can offer good service and management to bringing celebrities and athletes to Australia. I think it's a very beautiful place. I'm obsessed with Melbourne specifically, and a lot of talent all over the world want to tour and touch base with their fan base in Australia. We've seen, Shaq come out here, Kobe, he came out here. We've seen a lot of athletes and celebrities in general just come out and do tours and things like that. And that's something that I would love to get into as well, and planning on it. We've got a couple of Beyond Management International is the business, and we're really working on bringing a couple of athletes out and celebrities. So definitely want to keep you up to date with it, because you're going to be interviewing a couple of them for sure.
Man. Couch is ready for him.
Yeah, right here.
All right, so before we finish up, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions.
Okay.
So right now, who would you say is the best basketball player in Australia?
Best in Australia. I would say Dante Exum, purely based off of his versatility. I think he's very underrated, and we just saw in the Boomers games over the World Cup what he really can do if given the right opportunity. And I think he's had a rough NBA career purely because of injuries, and now that he's been healthy for a while, it's like, wow, this guy's still legit, and he is only 28 years old.
All right, what about up-and-coming ballers? Who would you say we've got to keep an eye on? Who's got next coming out of Australia?
I would definitely say Tyrese Proctor. He's a very, very interesting athlete, and he's a great kid too. Like, me and him have a decent relationship, and he's just got his head screwed on. Went over to Duke this year and absolutely did his thing. Could have got drafted mid-late first round, but wanted to go back and then build up that draft stock again. So there's a potential that he could go even higher.
Now, I know that you've been in a lot of rooms with some incredible people, ballers, business people. Who is someone that has touched you the most and inspired you?
I would say, like, still to this point, like my mother, like, as crazy as, the amount of people that I've been around, my mum has always been my number one motivation for everything. I want to make sure she gets to retire in the best way possible. And she's just inspired me by the fact that she has fully given me absolutely everything throughout her whole life. You know, as every junior in Australia would understand, you know, the Friday nights, the early mornings for practices, the Sunday morning basketball, the every single day, like I was playing basketball, tennis, soccer, doing all that. And, you know, Dad was working his butt off, you know, actually working. So Mum had to do all this stuff while Mum was also working a job as well, and struggling to find a way like to put basketball shoes on my feet. You know, I'm playing at a high level, but my shoes are always broken because we couldn't necessarily afford to buy new shoes every couple of weeks. So it's like all my credit always will go to my mum, my dad, and just keep wanting to motivate myself through them. And as many people I've been around, like they're the most influential people that have been in my world. Yeah.
That's dope, man. Shout out to mum and dad.
Shout out.
Okay, so final question. Can you share your biggest dream with me?
My biggest dream would be to dominate the Australian market for all sports. I know it's a dream that can become a reality. And I know that may intimidate a couple of other people or a couple of people around me, but I know that I know it's possible. And I have no doubt that I'll get there eventually.